Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, students, welcome to the second meeting of our speech class. Our topic today is about speech communication process. So please listen carefully to the explanation, and without further ado, let's get started. Coming to our main topic about speech communication process, it is better for us to understand first about the definition of public speaking, or what public speaking is. So, in literal meaning, public speaking can be defined as the act of speaking face-to-face to a live audience. However, in today's situation, public speaking can include any form of speaking, both in formal and also informal way, to the audience, including pre-recorded speech delivered over great distance by means of technology. So, it means that secara tradisional, public speaking ini maknanya adalah suatu tindakan atau kegiatan untuk berbicara secara tatap muka kepada audiens secara live atau langsung. Namun, untuk makna public speaking pada zaman sekarang atau era sekarang ini, public speaking tidak hanya terkait dengan komunikasi dengan audiens secara langsung, tetapi bisa juga termasuk pre-recorded speech atau pidato yang sudah direkam lalu ditampilkan melalui teknologi kepada audiens atau khalayak umum. Nah, jadi itu definisi dari public speaking. So, why is it important to learn about public speaking? Nah, kenapa kita perlu belajar tentang public speaking itu sendiri? Well, in general, public speaking can help us or can help you to deliver effective speeches with confidence and vigor. It is not only in college but also in your career as well. Jadi dengan mempelajari public speaking, kita tidak hanya belajar menyampaikan sesuatu di depan umum dengan percaya diri, tidak hanya di kampus atau di sekolah, tetapi juga untuk nantinya ketika sudah bekerja. Okay. So there are 5 benefits for us in learning public speaking. Okay, let's see them one by one. The first one is the benefit of public speaking is we can learn how to speak to a public audience. So, by learning public speaking, give you the chance to know how to stand up and give a talk, not only in a job field but also in a community. Just imagine that you will be valuable when you are able to talk in front of many people in a community gathering or in a town meeting by asking the question or answering the question. Jadi learn how to speak to a public audience, maksudnya di sini adalah kita bisa berkesempatan, kita bisa memiliki kesempatan atau memiliki kemampuan untuk berdiri dan memberikan pidato ataupun sebuah informasi secara face to face ataupun secara melalui teknologi, tidak hanya dalam lingkungan kerja tetapi juga dalam komunitas. Jadi kita bisa belajar bagaimana caranya berbicara ketika rapatnya bisa bermacam-macam ya, bisa town meeting, bisa rapat desa mungkin, atau rapat untuk lebih kecilnya bisa saja rapat di dalam kelas ataupun rapat di dalam divisi kerja. Nah, itu adalah the first benefit of learning public speaking. Second benefit of learning public speaking or why is it important to learn public speaking is you can learn skills that apply to one-on-one communication. One-on-one here I mean face-to-face with one person individually. The first benefit or the previous benefits it's related with the ability to speak to a public audience or the ability to speak to many people, but the second benefits related with one-on-one communication. So why is it important? One-on-one communication is a very important thing in learning public speaking. Why? Because you are going, for example, you are going to have a job interview later. Job interview means that you are giving your personal information, giving your experience, giving explanation about your skill to a personal manager, right? Or the person that recruit you. So by learning public speaking, you can learn about the how to use a facial expression, how to make eye contact to a person, or to how to convince someone else, and how to give a reply to a question in a brief and interesting way, so that you can obviously improve your chances to get a job that you want. So in public speaking course, you can learn how to organize and present such a persuasive message. It is the second benefit of public speaking, one-on-one communication. Important factor that influence hire you or not to hire you is the oral communication skills. Oral communication skills here becomes the highest or the highest price skill when it comes in hiring and promoting the employees. What does public speaking have to do with this skill? It is related with the most highly regarded of the skills. Speaking and listening are developed and practiced in public speaking class. The next benefit is we can practice and gain experience in an ideal laboratory. Public speaking class is an ideal laboratory for practicing your skill because it is an unthreatening setting. In public speaking class, no one will judge you, no one will deny you based on how you perform in class. So, laboratory here means the place for you to receive knowledge, practice, re-practice, receive critics to be a better speaker. The last benefit is you can gain self-confidence. Okay, one of the benefit for public speaking is to help you to gain the confidence in yourself and in your speech making ability. Giving a public speech is one of the most difficult tasks in life. So if you learn to do it well, you will gain an extraordinary amount of self-confidence. To the explanation related with speech communication process. A mistake made by some speakers is to think that when they have given a speech, communication has necessarily taken place. But when you are as a speaker speak to a listener, but if the listener does not understand your message in the way you mean it to be understood, you have failed to communicate. We can see in the figure here, this is the figures of how the elements of speech communication process related each other. Okay, it can be seen that in the context of a particular situation, a speaker sends a message via a channel to the listener, who in turn give feedback via the same channel with the speakers But during the communication process, there are several interferences. Interference here is whatever impedes the flow back and forth. So it can be said that speech communication process has 7 main elements: speaker, listener, message, channel, feedback, interference, and situation. Okay, let's discuss it one by one. The first one is the speaker. When you are as a speaker, you are the source of a message, the source of the information that is transmitted to the listener. The listener can be an individual or person, or for the audience, public audience, for many people. So, as a speaker, you bear a great responsibility for the success of the communication. The second element is a listener. Listener here take a role as a recipient of the message sent. So, the true test of communication is not only whether a message is delivered by the speaker, but it is also whether it is accurately received by the listener in a good way. So, no matter how good the speaker, no matter how dynamic the speakers delivering the message, if the listener's mind do not receive and interpret the message correctly, the desired communication has failed to take place. And then the third element of speech communication process is to the listener. Whatever the speaker needs to share the information to the listener. So the message here is sent to the form of, can be in a form of a symbol, either in verbal and also non-verbal form. Now, channel a speech that is delivered by the speakers to the listeners can reach the listeners by means of a variety of channels. For example, through direct voice communication, through the radio, maybe through the television, or a Zoom meeting, for example. And the best channel for public speaking is through face-to-face contact. The speech that is delivered to many people is delivered via direct voice communication. And then next element is feedback. What is the meaning of feedback here? Feedback can be defined as the response that the listener gives to the speaker. So, in order to make communication well, it can be seen from the feedback given by the listener. And then we come to interference. Interference is the thing that blocks the communication of a message. The things that blocks here can comes from outside and also inside the listener or the speaker. The listener interference from outside, for example, is maybe the sound of a TV, the noise, and also maybe the noise from other persons. And the internal interference is related with or can come from the listener himself or herself. For example, the listener might daydreaming or thinking about something or worrying about something, or maybe tired or sleepy, that make the message from the speaker cannot be understood well or cannot be received by the listener, so they can give the feedback to the speaker. Okay, the last element is situation. Situation is the time and place, the context in which the communication occurs. So different situation can have a different behavior from the speaker and also from the listener. In a formal way, in an informal way, the message and also the feedback is received is different. It is based on the context or where the speakers and also the listeners talk each other. Now we come to the explanation related with speakers' responsibility. As the speakers, we have several responsibilities in a public speaking. The first one is respect your audience. Respect your audience here means that as a speaker, you should respect your listener, no matter who they are or why they have come to listen to you. Okay, I have two cases related with respecting the audience that can be done by the speakers. The first one here, okay, let's see the case here. The speech or public speaking topic is about smoking should be banned, and the topic here is delivered in a public speaking in a restaurant. So please compare these two ways of delivering the topic of smoking should be banned. First, I know I won't change anybody's mind today, but I think smoking should be banned in a public place. So though the sentence I know I won't change anybody's mind has an implicit meaning. It means that you are insulting your audience by saying implicitly that your audience is close-minded and won't listen. So this is insulting the audience and think that the listener think that you are not respecting them as the listeners. Okay, compare with the second example. I know some of you smoke here and enjoy your time in this restaurant with friends or family. I normally wouldn't want to do anything to take away from your enjoyment, except that I have asthma and I'd like to explain what smoke does to me. So, comparing with the first one, the speak here is more friendly and more reasonable, and it is not giving an implicit meaning, do not insulting the listeners at all. Okay, the second responsibility for the speaker is take every speech seriously. Whether you are giving a speech in front of five people or maybe 500 audience, try as hard to communicate with audience as you would with an audience of 500. Try to please your listener even though only 5 people listen to your speech. Give your best effort and get involved with them. Okay. Next responsibility is be ethical. Be ethical here means that being honest, straightforward with your listener. Avoid all the method and goals that is unfair. So, there are two important principles as an ethical speaker. First is be as well informed as you possibly can, and also be honest with facts and figures. Do not deliver the speech based on the thing that is not based on facts. Always give the information in honest way and also straightforward way. The explanation about how to listen effectively. As a listeners, there are several ways that can help us to listen effectively to a speech or to a lecture to make us understood more about what the speaker said or what the message that the speaker tried to deliver to us. The first way is don't fake attention. Fake attention here means that you are pretending to sit politely in front of the speaker. You are pretending to listen even though you are daydreaming during their speech. It is fake attention or pretending to pay attention to the speech is not good for us as a listener, because you will miss a lot of information during your daydreaming, and also you can botch a personal or business relationship. The second one is be willing to expend energy. For many people, listening to a lecturer or a speech that is hard to be understood is expending much energy. Comparing with listening to a joke or a comedy from a TV, you will feel relaxed and do not pay much attention, do not think harder. But when it comes to listening to a speech with difficult materials, it will make us to think harder. So, be able to or be willing to expend much energy. You must be alert and energetic, giving total concentration to the speech with your eyes on the speakers, your ears on the speaker's word, and also your mind in receiving the message. The third one is prepare yourself. Since listening to difficult material is a hard work, you must prepare yourself as thoroughly as a runner prepares for a race. The preparation can be form of physically and also intellectually. Prepare yourself physically means that you can get plenty of sleep the night before, or maybe having exercises. So it means when you are listening to a heavy materials or a speech, you will feel enjoy. And the second one is prepare yourself intellectually. Intellectually here means that if the subject matter of speech is new or complex to you, you can do a background reading beforehand. So in this way, you will understand the speech easier. Okay, next is resist distractions. Distraction during listening to a speech is always hard for us to deal with. So concentrating on a speech is a hard work, but the task is made even more difficult by distractions of all sorts. The distraction can be in form of the mental distraction and also the visual distraction, and the last one is the auditory distraction. The mental distraction is daydreams, worries, and meanwhile visual distraction can be a nearby listener who is intriguing to look at the things that in front of us, or the birds landing on a windowsill. And the third distraction is auditory distraction. For example, the a sound of air conditioner, the sound of people coughing or whispering. So try to resist the distraction during listening to a speech or a lecture. Next is listen analytically. What does it mean, listen analytically? When you are listening to a speech or you are listening to a lecture, focus on main ideas. Focus on what is the speaker's main point that she or he wants to give to you. Next is taking notes. Taking notes is very helpful for us when you want to listen effectively. So, what is note taking is why note taking is important. First, it can give you a record of a speaker's most important points. And then note taking also a good way to keep your attention on the speakers and not let your mind wander, or do not let your mind have a daydream. So this is the benefit of taking notes during listening to a lecture. Next is avoid prejudgment. What does it mean, prejudgment here? Prejudgment is when you are judging a speaker before she or he speak in front of the audience. Maybe you are judging the speaker through the way he or she dress, the way he or she walk. So try to avoid that. You will be focused on the appearance only and not on what the speakers deliver. The last one is do not mentally argue with the speaker. When you are not agree with what the speakers say, try to listen to the speaker first and then find the way or the side that the speaker's opinion, whether it is contrast with your own opinion or not. Try to listen or try to understand from the another side or from the speaker's point of view first. The last point that I need to tell is about listeners' responsibilities. There are 3 main responsibilities for the listeners. The first one is avoid rudeness. What does it mean? When you are listening to a speech or lecture, maybe as a listener we just sit down and think that you are not doing any rudeness at all. But for example, when the speakers start to give a lecture but you are started to read a book, or you are went to sleep maybe, or maybe you do not pay much attention to the speakers, it is called the rudeness. So when the speakers start to speak, do not do anything else. Just focus on what the speaker said. This is your responsibility as the listeners. The second one is provide encouragement. So, as a listener, you should strive to provide the speaker with as much encouragement as possible. The encouragement here, it can be in form of giving full attention to the speaker, taking notes, or maybe looking directly to the speaker instead of looking at the window or maybe looking at the floor, and show through your face that you are interested, that you are eager to know what the speaker wants to say. Okay, the last one is find value in every speech. Even though the speakers delivered a very hard materials, try to find the value in every speech that they delivered. For example, when you are do a complicated speech and over your head, try to listen anyway and try to broaden your knowledge. If a speech is so bad that you cannot find anything worthwhile in it, you can always look for how not to do it lesson. So you can ask yourself, what can I learn from the speaker mistakes? Maybe as a speaker later I will not do the similar mistake. Okay, that is the 3 responsibilities for the listeners. Now, we are coming to the quiz for meeting 2. There are 4 questions here. So you need to answer these questions and submit it on our e-learning platform. The first question is explain the elements of speech communication process based on your own understanding. The second one is what are the major responsibilities of speakers? The third one is what are the advantages of taking notes during a speech? And the last question is when you are a listener, how can you encourage a speaker? So, these questions are our quiz for meeting 2. Don't forget to do the task or the quiz and submit it on our e-learning platform based on the schedule given. So, I think this is the end of my explanation about speech communication process, the topic for second meeting in speech class. Thank you for your attention. See you for the next meeting or next video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.